Well, guys, how are we all today? Apologies, I didn't get to do the Monday or the Wednesday power hour this week, but still, I'm going to do a little teaching here anyway. So, this week I spoke to Will this week, and I was just sort of explaining to him there about other ways that you can measure progress other than using the scales. So I thought that this would actually be good to share with everybody. I'm actually going to move myself up to the top here. So yeah, so today's presentation, today's teaching is on like why we shouldn't rely on the scale all the time. So there's, as I said, there's many other different ways that we can measure progress. So we'll talk about this here in this presentation. So let's get stuck into it then. So what we're going to cover then is what the scales actually measure, why the scale fluctuates, and so how do we actually lose body fat? There's a difference between losing weight and losing fat. So we'll talk about that as well. And then the other ways to measure progress. And there is a lot more than what you probably think. So we'll come to that. That's the last part that we're going to speak about. So let me move myself down again. So what the scales actually measure then. So whenever it comes to losing weight, weight is a combination of a few different things. So the first thing there is bone density, depending on your genetics. Some people will have more bone density than others. Like people that are genuinely taller usually have bigger bones, like bigger bones in their thighs. I think it's the femur. Also, like bigger forearms. Just in general, they're going to have more bone density compared to somebody that's of a smaller stature. So, depending on the height of the person, then that's going to determine, your weight. The next thing then also is muscle. Depending on if you, again, genetics can be a part of this here. Some people have the genetics of being a more muscly person. And if they go to the gym, they put on muscle a lot quicker than some other people that maybe don't have those sort of genetics. Or, somebody that's been going to the gym, most of their life, they're going to obviously have a lot more muscle than somebody that hasn't really done anything in the gym. It doesn't even have to be in the gym. If you're, like, say, you're a farmer, physical job, always lifting and carrying things, like, you're going to obviously have a lot more muscle than somebody that's going to be sitting at a desk all day and typing. They might have more muscles in their fingers, but overall, in general, they're going to have more muscle in their body. And this, again, is another factor of weight on the whole. It's not just body fat. So muscle is another thing as well. Water is another big thing. Like, I think is it 80% of your body is made up of water, which is why another thing that's very important to drink a lot of water to make sure you have plenty in your system. There's my 2 liter bottle of, well, actually, this is only a 1.2 liter bottle, but always very handy to have one. But yes, depending on the amount of water you drink in a day, that's why I get you to weigh first thing in the morning when it comes to your check-ins. But well, you don't have to weigh first thing in the morning, but it's going to be the lightest weight possible, because obviously after sleeping all night, it's going to be the most time that you spend where you don't drink water through in a long period of time, and it means then there's not as much fluid in your body, so then you're going to be lighter, you're going to weigh lighter. And going back to that, there it is personal preference. If you want to weigh yourself in the evening time, as long as you stay in the same times, it's going to be more accurate then. But if you weigh yourself in the morning and then weigh yourself in the evening, like the next week, then there's going to be a difference there because of the amount of water you've drank that day and the amount of food you've eaten that day, and your body it's going to fluctuate. But yeah, so depending on the amount of water you have, and then also, if you have a higher salt diet, you're going to hold on to more fluids than somebody that doesn't have a high salt diet. And if you drink your 2-3 liters of water, plus have like your extra salt in your meals, then the next day you may hold on to more water. Whereas somebody that drinks 2-3 liters of water but doesn't have as much salt in their diet, they may not hold on to as much water as well. So water again is another thing that is going to affect the number on the scale. And then finally, then the thing that everybody wants to lose, the body fat. So total body fat as well is also a thing that is going to affect obviously that number on the scale. And total body fat could be anywhere, or like with body fat all around our body. And unfortunately, the most stubborn parts are probably your belly, around the hip area, around the lower back area. That's always the last place to go. And unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it. You cannot target a certain area of fat. Eventually, it will start to drop off as soon as like the other, like mostly it starts to go off in your arms and your face first, and then it'll start to come off in those areas. But the key to that is it'll be in the next slide, but it's being in a calorie deficit. But yes, so bone density, muscle, water, and total body fat all combined then is the number that's going to be on the scale. So, as you can see there it's a lot. Like, if the number on the scale tends to move quite a lot, then it's probably mostly to do with water out of these four areas, because that's the thing that's going to change the most, like, depending on the amount that you drink in a day, and the amount of salt as well that I said that you eat too. The more salt you eat, the more you're going to retain all this water. So how do we actually lose total body fat then? So to lose weight, you could lose muscle by not being as physical, not going to the gym. You can drink less water, and you can also lose body fat, and that's going to put the number down on the scale. Those three things. Bone density, obviously, you're not going to be fit to do much with that there, but obviously it's total body fat that we want to lose, and it's a thing that we can lose. And the way that we do that is to be in a calorie deficit. That is the only way that you are going to lose body fat, is to be in a calorie deficit, which means then that you are eating less calories than what you actually burn. And that means then that the body then has to use the stored fat in your body as energy in order to function. And that is how then we end up losing body fat. And as I say, I have all your programs set up so that everybody is in a calorie deficit. And this means then that 3,500 calories equates to 1 pound, which is almost half a kilo of body fat. So, say I have you on a 500 calorie deficit daily, then that means over a 7-day period, you should be losing around 1 pound of body fat per week. And as I say, this may not show up on the scale because you may be putting on a bit of muscle if you're hitting the gym. You also may have drank a little bit more water that day. Maybe you haven't been to the toilet that day. All these sorts of things are going to be ways that it's going to keep that number on the scale from moving. But if you do your measurements in body, all the measurements, like I say, and take progress pictures, you will see that your body shape will change because you are actually losing body fat, but it may not show on the scale. So that is how we lose total body fat. So again, the difference between losing weight and losing fat is, like, when you're losing weight, you could be losing water, you could be losing muscle, you could be losing fat. Whereas when you're losing fat, you're just losing the fat on your body. And as I say, you have to be in a calorie deficit to do so, which I have all you guys in at the moment. You don't need to worry about that because I have that all programmed for you. So why the scales fluctuate? So why do they fluctuate? So the average adult's weight actually fluctuates up to 5 or 6 pounds per day, which is 2.2 to 2.7 kilos per day, which is a hell of a lot. And it all comes down to the following things, as I sort of touched on there. So what you eat and when you eat. So, again, if you're having more salty foods, you may end up retaining these a little bit more. And again, it depends on when you eat as well. If you eat early in the morning, then by the time the afternoon comes, you may have digested that food and you may be back to the same weight. Or maybe, you eat later on in the day, you only have your lunch and your dinner. So then you're going to be a lot heavier, obviously, in the evening time. And that doesn't mean that you've put on fat. It's just, it's just your body weight fluctuating because you have eaten food. You take a bit of food, put it on the scale, it's going to weigh something. So you eat that, you consume that, that's going to go into your body and that's going to be part of your weight. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to put on fat unless you go over into a calorie surplus. Then yes, you will put on some sort of fat. But if you do that for one day, and then we can obviously then cancel that over the rest of the days with your calorie deficit. So that means you don't actually put on any fat. And also again, what you eat or what you drink and when you drink. So again, this is going to affect your weight as well. If you're consuming alcohol, that could be one thing. It actually dehydrates you, and it actually may cause you to lose a bit of weight. And then also, but then drinking your water. If you have 3 liters of water, if you put 3 liters of water in a bottle and weigh it, it's going to weigh about half a kilo or a kilo, or maybe even a bit more. And again, if you drink that amount of water, that is, and put it into your body, that is going to increase the weight on the scale as well. So again, it's going eating and drinking is going to affect that number on the scale. Again, as well, what type of exercise you do and when you exercise, that's also going to have an impact on how your body fluctuates throughout the day. If you exercise first thing in the morning and sweat quite a lot, and you do like a big CrossFit session that's like full of cardio and you sweat bucket loads, you're obviously going to lose weight because of the amount of water you are sweating out of your system. And then same if you're in the evening time, you're going to weigh a bit lighter in the evening time after a big heavy workout as well. But then, if you drink loads of water after that workout, then you're going to obviously put the weight back on again. And then you may end up, holding that water over the next day, and you may end up being a bit heavier on the scales. But that is because of the exercise you did in the evening time before, plus the amount of water that you drank. So, and it again depends on the exercise too. If you're doing a heavy CrossFit session, like I said, or if you're going for a casual run, it's going to be it depends on the amount that you sweat. Like that's what's going to be a difference in the fluctuations of your body. And finally, the last one here, I'm going to move myself up again. So depends as well on when and how long you sleep as well. It's mostly probably how long you sleep. So, a person that gets between 7 to 9 hours of sleep is going to lose more weight than a person that probably only gets about 5 hours of sleep. Sleep is one of the most important things that we can be doing, and we need to get at least 7 hours a day. And for somebody that's not hitting an average of 7 hours at least, you're not going to lose as much weight. Just going to add there to my my scales. If I go jump on the scales now, I'll put on a bit of weight there because I've drank a bit of water. But yeah, and as I say, sleeping is very important. It helps us to build our immune system, and it also helps our body to recover as well. If we're not getting as much sleep, if we don't recover as much, then we may end up holding on to some more of the food that we eat and some more of the water that we drink, and to try and help our bodies to recover. And this may also then put on weight too. And another thing, if you don't get enough sleep, then what happens is you become, you wake up in the morning, you get in a bad mood, and you're really grumpy, and you just don't want to talk to anybody, and you just feel like shit, and you don't have any energy, and you're sitting about. And what do when you're sitting about and you feel like shit? You eat like shit, and you maybe drink like shit as well. And then this will have an effect on your weight too, because you're eating a lot of shit and drinking a lot of shit, and it's going to cause the scales then to increase. So getting a good night's sleep is important in that sense as well. So what everybody expects then when it comes to losing weight. So this is a graph here that I've just taken, and everybody expects it to be easy and just every day I'm going to lose weight and it's going to go straight down. So it's going to go from, in this graph here, 76.5 kilo right down to 71 kilo, and it's just going to happen easy, and you're not going to have to worry about any of the weight going up or down. It's just going to head down, and that's what everybody expects to happen. But that is not the way it happens, and it's just like life. It is full of ups and downs. So what actually happens then? This is more like what's going to happen. So it started off there just over 75, just below 75.5 kilos, and the weight actually of this particular person has went up first, and then it's dropped down slightly. I'll actually use this little thing here. Dropped down slightly, and then it's dropped again and again, but then it's sort of steadied off here a little bit, dropped a little bit again, and it's steadied off a little bit again, and it's dropped down, steadied off, dropped down. But as you can see there, look, the weight has actually went up here at this part, and then what's happened is then it's went down a lot here, but look, it has also then went back up again. And this is how weight fluctuates. Whenever you are going out on your journey, your weight is going to fluctuate up and down. And as I say, it depends on the amount that you eat and drink, and when you exercise, and the amount that you sleep, etc., etc. But on the whole, you see the weight fluctuating up and down there. But on the whole, what happens is, on average, you can see, like with using that line, that the weight is coming down. So there will be days that it will go up and days that it will go down, but on average, it'll start to come down like that. And that's like, you use the average line there. You can see that the weight has went from nearly 75.5, and it's down to 72 kilos there. And this is the way it should be done. It means then that you're going to sustain it that bit more, like, because you have went on this journey, rather than going straight from 75.5 kilos right down to 71 kilos in a matter of 2-3 weeks. This is actually taken over, I think it's nearly 3 months there. And I say it's gone down slowly but surely. And that's the way we should be losing weight, because that's the way we're going to be able to keep it off then for good. Slow and steady wins the race of life. Don't be like the hare, be like the tortoise, and just bumble along, hitting your goals left and right. And that is the way you're going to win the race of life. And that is the way that we should be looking at our weight loss journey. So this is the part now, the exciting part, when you can take your scale and stick it in the bin. If it's one of those things that, it actually does affect your mood for the day, then I would rather you not weigh yourself. I would rather you measure your progress in some ways that I'm going to show you now today. And, if it is something that you are affected by, on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, whenever you do weigh yourself, please do reach out to me, and I can offer you some extra support there. But as I said, if it is a thing that affects your emotions, affects your mood, affects your happiness, then the better thing to do is to not weigh yourself with the scale. So, other ways to measure your progress then without having to set foot on the scale. So, as we do every week, we measure our body parts, certain body parts. Now, You can measure your arms, neck, all that sort of stuff, your legs, calves, if you really, really want to. You have that option there. But the main thing is, I want to measure just the main parts of your body. So you've got let me put this down here. You got your chest, then you've got your waist, and then your hips are below that there. So using body weight measurements is going to be the true progress measure of body fat. If you measure your chest and 1 week it's 43, and then the next week it's 42.5, that is a sign that you have lost half an inch of body fat from around your chest. Same goes then for the waist and the hips, and that's a true measurement of progress. Whereas you can't really determine, if you jump on the scale and you lose a kilo in 1 week, you can't determine if that's a kilo of body fat. It's probably more likely to be 0.5 kilos of water, and maybe a slight bit of muscle, and then your body fat as well. Whereas if you use measurements, that's going to be the true sign of the true measurement of losing body fat. And again, as well, I haven't actually put it on this here, but using progress pictures as well, you'll be able to see yourself from week 1 to week 6, and you'll be able to see the differences in your body shape as well. Another thing is to track your activity levels. Like the amount of steps you do in a week is that's a sign of progress. If you're able to hit your 70,000 steps over the week, the amount of workouts you do, like maybe you were doing 2-3 workouts. If you're able to progress and do 3, and maybe constantly do 3, or maybe do 4 workouts in a week, that is also a measurement then of progress too. And if you're doing your 70,000 steps over the week, and then you increase that by 1,000 each day and take it up to 77,000, that's another thing that's going to be a measure of progress, that you've been fit to go from 70,000 to 77,000. So this is another way to measure your progress, is to track your activity levels and see how much you have been able to increase them. Like if you're in a better mood, ever since you started this program, like getting yourself into your plan of action, and you see an improvement in your mood on a daily basis, then this is a measurement of progress. Before, if you were feeling like low energy, or if you're feeling grumpy and your mood was always low, and you've went to feeling so much better, like even like 5 days out of the 7 days of the week, rather than 1 or 2 days out of the week. The weekend, if your mood's only good at the weekend, whereas now, most of the days there of the week, maybe even 7 out of 7 days of the week, if your mood has improved, that is a great sign of progress as well. Your clothes fitting better. If you were wearing t-shirts, or you're wearing shorts or dresses, or whatever it is you were wearing before, and it always felt really tight and really uncomfortable, and then all of a sudden you put it on now, into however long you've been in the program, and you've lost a bit of you feel you've lost a bit of weight, and you put the clothes on and they're feeling much more loose, and they're fitting much better. And this is another way that you can measure your progress. That's obviously if it's not feeling as tight, on your body, then obviously you're losing some of your body, and that is going to be a sure sign that you're losing some body fat, and you're feeling more comfortable in your clothes. So that's another really good way to measure your progress. You're more mindful of what you're consuming. This doesn't have to be just food. It could be like mindless TV. It could be like alcohol. It could be social media. Like if you're mindful of these types of things that you are consuming, and you're starting to cut these things down slightly, that's not going to benefit your life. Like eating unhealthy food, or eating or drinking alcohol, maybe 3-4 nights of the week, maybe cut it down to 2 nights of the week. Not consuming as much mindless TV. Instead of sitting all evening and watching 3, 4, 5 hours of TV, you've cut it down and said, right, okay, I'm only allowing myself 1 hour TV that's another sign of progress too. Or you've noticed that you're constantly on your phone, swiping up and down and distracting you lots. If you're fit to, cut that down and say, right, I'm only allowing myself half an hour in the morning and half an hour in the evening or something like that. That is another true sign of progress as well. When you're stressing less about food, like instead of, every time you put food in your mouth before, and you may have stress about it, saying, oh, fuck, I shouldn't have eaten that there. Fuck, I feel really bad now. I'm really stressed out. Like, I really shouldn't have eaten that there. Whereas now, if you're able to, eat certain foods that before that you wouldn't have maybe eaten, because you would have felt bad about it and you would have stressed about it. Whereas now, if you're able to take a chocolate bar, or take a bowl of cereal, or whatever it is that you like, packet of crisps, and not have to stress about it, because you know that as long as you stay within your calories, then your progress cannot, and you're still going to be making progress. Then that's, if you're not able to, if you don't feel that you're stressed about the types of food you're eating, and it's going to help you still stay within a calorie deficit, lose weight, even though it's like food that before you would have stressed about, then this is another great sign of progress, that you're not stressing as much about the food you're consuming. And you have more confidence, you have more confidence about your daily life, you have more confidence in yourself. Like, if you weren't as confident before, and every day, like, you just seem to be building that confidence, that's another great way to measure your progress. If you were not as a confident person, and you're now a very, very confident person, like, that progress from not confident to very confident, like, that is a great measure of progress. And if you feel confident within yourself, and that is a true sign of progress. Like, you don't have to worry about that number on the scale, because fuck, I feel confident now. Like, I know exactly what direction I need to be going in here. Like, I'm setting up goals, and I am absolutely smashing them, and I am more confident than what I have ever felt in my life. That is a true sign of progress for you as well. And you don't even have to step on the scale to get that kind of progress. And you feel fitter during your workout. So your steps, the amount of daily activity you're doing, like maybe before you mightn't have been able to run the length for yourself, and now, you could be running, 4 or 5 Ks, not even thinking about it. This is another true sign of progress. That you're feeling fitter within you just feel like a much fitter person than what you once were before. And you don't need the scales to tell you that there, which is another fantastic way to measure your progress. You stop labeling foods as good and bad foods. Food is just fuel at the end of the day. So this is going to help to improve your relationship with food, and that's going to be a way to see progress as well. Like, you don't have to worry about, like, I better not eat like takeaways because that's bad food, and I have to eat fruit and vegetables and lean meats because they are good foods. Like, again, that's all bullshit. There's no such thing as a good and a bad food. But and if you are able to get out of the way of that there, labeling foods as that is another fantastic sign of progress. You find new ways to cope with emotions. Some people might turn to food to cope with their emotions, and they stress eat. And if you can find new ways to cope with these types of things, like, for me, it's getting out and doing a walk is a great way to clear your head, and great way to cope with your emotions. Other things you can do is meditation. Write down shit that's in your head, like journal, like do a mind dump. These are things that you can use instead of unhealthy things, like turning to food and over consuming on food. If you are able to cope better with your emotions, that is another great sign of progress. And no more mindless snacking. Sitting in front of the TV, watching Netflix, and then you got your other hand flicking through Instagram, and then the other hand is fucking chewing away at crisps and snacks and whatever it is, and or a big tub of Ben and Jerry's ice cream, something like that. If you can get out of the way of not mindless snacking, filling up more on your meals throughout the day, adding more protein in, adding more fruits and vegetables in, then and you find then that you're not snacking as much, so you're even more aware, that okay, right, I am going to enjoy this snack, but I'm not going to go over the top. That is another fantastic sign of progress. You binge and overeat less frequently. So because we don't restrict ourselves in this program, I am allowing you to still be able to go out and enjoy yourself, enjoy the foods that you want to eat. This means then that you don't feel restricted, and when you don't feel restricted, then you don't feel the need to go on a binge, and you don't need to feel the need then to overeat these types of foods that you want to eat, which is why all fad diets fail at the end of the day, because for some, they restrict you of some sort of typical food that you want to eat, and then what happens is then you crave it that much, you end up binge eating, and then that's whenever all the progress becomes undone. But if we can limit our binges, limit our overeating, then that is a fantastic sign of progress there as well. I actually think I've got this one already. Sorry, it's a repeat there, but less stressing about food. That's like, it is a major one. If you don't feel that you're stressing about food as much, then that is another great. It is a great sign of progress. You can eat all sorts of food without feeling guilty. You can eat your vegetables and lean meats and your potatoes, pasta, rice, whatever, and like most of the time you won't feel guilty for that. But the types of food you will feel guilty for, or like you may feel guilty for, or most people do, is the likes of your takeaways: pizza, McDonald's, KFC, Nando's, whatever it is, and then maybe eating like the likes of your crisps and snacks and chocolates and sweets, and then like you end up eating so much of them, and you end up feeling very guilty. But if you can detach yourself emotionally from these things and not feel guilty for eating them, if you keep them within your calories, that is all that matters, and you can still enjoy these types of foods as part of a balanced diet, and you don't have to feel guilty about it. And if you can get to that stage where you don't feel guilty about eating certain types of food, and that is another incredible way that you can measure your progress. You can lift more weights whenever you're hitting the gym. You can lift more weight if you're able to increase your strength. That is another great way that you can progress. And another thing on that, maybe you don't have to be able to if you can lift the same weight, but you can do more reps with it. That is another way that you can measure your progress. And another thing is as well, if you keep the same weight, keep the same reps, but your technique is improved as well, that is another sign of progress too. So it doesn't just have to be about lifting more weight all the time. And it doesn't have to be even about lifting weight. Like some people I know in here don't go to the gym, and it can be increasing your step count. It can be, getting, even going to one gym session could be a sign of progress, or doing a home workout, or doing an activity that you wouldn't have maybe seen yourself doing before, to go and burn calories. Like, for example, like rock climbing, something like that, something out there, or going for a run or something that you never would have saw yourself doing, but you have been able to do that there now, and that is another great way that you can measure your progress. And this is a great one. I absolutely love this here. Like, you exercise for fun and not just for punishment. Most people make the mistake of saying like, right, fuck, like this is a diet starts Monday. I'm gonna exercise every single day for 5 hours, and I'm really gonna I really been really, really bad, and I'm gonna punish myself here because after that weekend there, I can either go for 5 runs here over the next 3 days just to make sure that I keep myself right and I'm back on track again. Whereas if you can start to learn to enjoy your exercise. Find an activity that you love to do, and you don't feel it as a punishment. As I said there before, you get to work out, not that you have to work out. Like, you are in a position where you are fit and healthy enough to be able to work out, and you get to do that. This is a powerful way you should be reframing things, and being able to do it for fun as well. Like, if you're enjoying yourself doing it, then you are going to be more likely to stick with it. And that is progress as well. Like, you don't want to be doing things that you're not going to stick to things you don't want to do. So if you find something that you enjoy, that is a fantastic way that you can measure progress too. And I think there's another 3 or 4 more. So to say, there's a lot of things here that you can measure your progress, other than jumping on that scale. So you can keep trigger foods in your house. Maybe there were certain types of food before that it triggered you, and you ended up overeating these types of foods and binging because for some reason it triggered you. And like, another thing is, like, you can walk past it in the supermarket and not buy a whole load of this type of food as well. That could also be progress here. But to have these types of food in your house and being able to enjoy just a small portion of it, then that is a really huge sign of progress. Like, for me, Jesus, I love dry horse and I love biltong, and like, we've had it in the house here for a good while. And like, if Jesus, like, if I got my hands, like, I could go through 2 or 3 packets in one day if I wanted to. But for me, I've been able to control those cravings, and that's a sign of progress for me. And so if you are able to keep these types of food in your house and be able to control them, then that is a huge sign of progress for you. You stop second guessing your food choices. Some people, like, they may have, they go, once they eat their food, and they go, oh, fuck, I shouldn't have eaten that there. Like, this is really going to make me feel like it's going to, I wish I hadn't done that there. I feel really guilty about it. But instead, if you're able to, eat certain types of food, eat the food that you want to eat, and not having to think about it again, it's like, right, okay, I've eaten it, that's fine, no problem. It's part of, you want to eat it, so like, why not? And you don't second guess it. That is also another, it's another big sign of progress, that you're not sitting there worrying about the food that you have consumed. And you're able to go out to dinners, you're able to go out to parties and eat these types of food that maybe some people wouldn't eat if they were on a diet, and not feel guilty about it. Like, that's like you don't have to, you're not sitting there second guessing about it. That's a great sign of progress too. Flexibility improves. This is one for if you want to be a bit more flexible. Like, people these days, like, they're sitting at desks all day and hunched over, and flexibility isn't a thing that most people have. And if you're able to even get your ass to grass doing a squat over the next 30 days or whatever it is, that is going to be an improvement in your flexibility. If you're even able to touch your toes, maybe that could be an improvement in your flexibility. And being able to, if you're losing weight over this year, and that's also going to help you to be able to become a bit more flexible. If you're, depending on the amount of weight that you have extra in your body, if you were to take that there and put it as bags of sugar, and maybe it's an extra 10 kg, so 10 bags of sugar, put that in a big bag and strap it around you, it's going to feel heavier. But if you were able to lose that weight, then you're going to be able to move that bit more and be that bit more flexible. So that's another sign of progress then, if you're able to improve your flexibility. And this is one for me. Like, I still can't do this to this day, and it's one thing that I do need to work on, and that is being able to leave food on your plate. One of these, like, I've always had the belief that you should always clear your plate, no matter how much is on it. But if you get to a certain point, and if you're eating your dinner or your lunch or breakfast, whatever it is, and you feel that you're stuffed, but it's like, fuck, I know, like, it's only a few more spoonfuls, I'll eat it. But if you are fit to, say, right, you know what, actually, I'm satisfied. That's me filled up, and you're able to leave some of that food on your plate. Like that's another true sign of progress there. Like that's a great way to measure your progress if you're fit to do that there. So, um, I've given you your calories or whatever, and if you don't feel that you need to use them all, then don't use them. It's one of those things that you can bank them, as I've always said, and you can use them another day that maybe you're having a bit of extra booze, maybe you're having, you're going to a party or something, and you want to have a bit of extra calories or whatever to spend. It's one of those things. So if you're able to leave food in your plate too, that's a really good sign that you're progressing, and you can save that food for later on in the day, or you can put it into some pardon me, put it into some Tupperware and save it for tomorrow for lunch. So that's another way you can measure your progress. And another thing as well, like if you're nights out, or your friends come round, or if you're at a family member's house. Family members are actually nearly the worst, especially going to granny's houses, and they're offering you food, making sure you're all filled up. If you can turn down food that is offered to you, like well, for me anyway, that's a big one. Like I'm always, and you should never feel bad about it, because once you may think that the person might feel bad, but telling you now, they have too much going on in their own life to give a shit. They've offered to you, and they might say, "Oh fuck, you just go on, have a bit." And after about 5 or 10 seconds, they'll forget about it. They'll not care. So if you're able to, turn down food, that if your calories all set out, your meal plan's all done, and like somebody offers you a food that's not on your plan, and you're able to say, no, I'm okay, thank you, don't worry. That to me is a true sign of progress there as well. So I think that is all the progress things that I have found, and there probably is a few more as well. So if you can think of any more yourself, I would love to hear them. So you can stick them in the comments below here. That would be great. And super so. Having a new baby is great for the sleep. But guys, as I say, if you get caught up on the scale, the number on the scale, you don't need to worry about it. It's one of those things that, yes, we do like to use it to measure progress, but if it's going to have too much of an emotional effect on you, then you're better not using it. And that's actually another final bit of progress there as well that you can measure too, that how much that you can detach yourself from that number on the scale, So, but guys, thank you very much for listening in. This is a bit of a longer one, but absolutely fantastic. Again, I am very sorry about not being able to do it on the Power Hour, but maybe actually is a better thing, because it's such a long presentation there, but really, really worth listening to this one. It's I've really actually enjoyed that one myself. I enjoyed researching to see all those different ways that you can measure progress, and there is so much more ways to measure your progress other than that number on the scale. So hopefully that has helped some people in the program to help them to detach themselves from it. And yes, guys, if you have any questions whatsoever, please do drop them in the comments below, and I will get them answered. But guys, thank you very much again, and I hope that you have an incredible day.